Hello, everybody. It's Donna Cravata, and we are back again with another live interview for the Real 50 Over 50. And today we have Kathleen Lawson. She's a small business strategist and founder of Kathleen Lawson Consulting, where she works primarily with service-based solopreneurs, women, to bring structure, strategy, and consistency to their businesses. With more than 20 years of entrepreneurial experience, Kathleen is known for her practical, no nonsense approach to helping business owners move out of overwhelm and into clear, focused execution. Through her consulting work and her CEO Hour framework, she helps clients think like CEOs, make better decisions, and build sustainable businesses that actually work. As a long-time entrepreneur and mother of 5 boys, that's a lot. Kathleen understands firsthand the realities of building a business alongside real life and is passionate about helping women create businesses that support both. Kathleen took the lessons learned from her transition from corporate to entrepreneur and now helps women build sustainable businesses that work for their lives, taking them from feeling stuck and reactive to clear and in control, which is the difference she cares most about. Welcome, Kathleen.
Thank you, Donna.
Um, oh, can you just hold 1 second? We have a technical difficulty.
Uh-oh.
Give me one moment. This is my fault. I forgot to do something. But this is what happens when you're live, right?
It is. It's all part of it.
I'm not editing this either. Okay. All right, just give me 1 sec, and then we will be live everywhere. Okay, that's not going to work. All right, I tried. Okay.
Are we not streaming, or?
We're streaming on LinkedIn and YouTube, but we're not streaming on Substack.
Okay.
Because I didn't do something that I was supposed to do. I was a bad host. Okay, never mind. All right, we know who you are, Kathleen. Let's talk.
All right, let's talk.
So tell us about how you work. You know what I'm really curious about? What is the CEO Hour framework?
What is CEO Hour? CEO Hour is protected CEO time. And it's time to stop the doing and instead take a little time to think about your business and take control of your time and plan your week, basically. So I created it over time. I developed it over time based on my needs. I was trying to, kind of started out simply. Like, I needed to figure out what I was going to do during the week because the decision fatigue was killing me. Like, every day, like, what am I going to do today? What am I going to do now? And so I'm like, all right, I need a plan for the week. And originally I would do that on Monday mornings. And then I discovered it was still taking me like half the day to really get into a groove. And then I started backing it up. And for a very short amount of time, I did it on Sundays. And then I was like, I'm not working on the weekend. And then I backed it up to Friday. And that was really the sweet spot on when. And I realized that when I was in Friday, what I had done this past week was a lot fresher in my mind. Like, when I waited to the following week, it was really hard to remember, like, what the heck did I do last week? So now I'm like, all right, here's where I am. And then I can look forward, make a plan. So it kind of started off very simply with that. What's a couple of things I noticed as time went on is that it also helped me not think about things during the weekend, because before I did that, over the weekend, all of a sudden I would be like, oh, wait a minute, don't I have that meeting? Did I get this done? Did I get that done? I would think about all these things. And so now, because I do this on Friday, like, I go into the weekend, I don't think about anything again. And then over time, I realized that I was getting so much better at being intentional with my time, because now I was looking at it all the time, and I was getting a lot more strategic with how I managed it. And so that was getting better. I was so much clearer on my priorities because I would decide, on Friday, what's the most important thing next week? Like, what
Mhm.
do I need to do? And then I was able to kind of tie it into my bigger goals because I'm like, all right, I had this goal. Have I done anything about it? So, that gets on the list. So I found that I was so much more tied to my goals. I was more clear on my priorities. I was using my time better. So that's kind of where it started. And then I also added things like, oh, let's wrap up the networking from the week. Let's like look at our finances. So it just sort of kind of grew into this, again, this like sort of CEO time every week. And I've had a number of programs around it over the years. And that's kind of, I've done this and done that. And now it's part of a membership where it kind of provides underlying structure for business owners. So there's quarterly planning, this weekly planning, we do some co-working, but it's really just giving them sort of like the rails to run on, I guess is the way I would say it.
And that's so important because you know, nobody teaches you this. Like when you go from a corporate role to, having your own little enterprise, and it's different. It's not the same. They're not the same functions to run the business. And,
Right.
when you come from corporate, so many of the things that we need to do within our little tiny businesses were done by like another department. Like it was just an email address, right? It
Right.
wasn't a
Yeah.
thing.
Right. And I think too, like, and especially when people are newer, they're so like, oh, I've got to do all this client work. I got to do, I got to do, I got to do, I got to do. And it's really hard for them to feel like they can take the time to stop and think. And I think as you get more experience, you recognize like, I really need that CEO
Yeah.
time, but it's still hard people don't protect it, and they're like, okay, well, when I have time, I'll do that. When I have
Mhm.
time, I'll do that. And what I say is like, that's the time that you schedule first,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and also, like, when your business shifts, that changes because the things that you're doing will change. So you might have this structure in place from, like, a past version of your business, but then, when everything starts to change, maybe team has changed or the way you work with clients or your processes have changed, and there's no, continuation with that. You actually have to restructure it again.
Right. Oh yeah. I feel like it's
And
always evolving. Yeah.
so
You
now
gotta
here I'm sorry, keep going.
yeah, no, I was gonna say, and I think like having the structure to make those decisions and to do that, like, you know, if because otherwise, again, you're sort of relying on motivation or discipline, like, all right, when, you kind of wait, like you're waiting for something from inside to tell
Mhm.
you, like, oh, maybe we'll make these changes now. But what I would suggest is that if you have a structure, then it's like, all right, there's a place for you to do that thinking and make those decisions. So
Yeah.
they happen.
Now, I just thought of something that I would love to hear what you have to say about this, and I bet we are very much in alignment with how we feel about it. Um, Handing over your processes to AI.
Um, so I guess I think there are some things that AI is good for, but you've got to make sure I think there's other thinking that has to go into it because when I think, and I guess it would also depend on what process you're talking about, but when I look at processes with a client, I like to look at it from two sides. We look at it both from operationally, like internal, and what's going to make your life easier and more efficient and all
Mhm.
that kind of thing, but also the client side. Like, you're designing an experience and you want to provide, good service. And so, what does that look like? So you have to do that from both sides. But I think there's definitely room for AI, and I think it's changing like literally week by week. It's moving so fast.
Yeah.
So there's trying to figure that out, keep up with it, make those changes. I mean, there's a lot there, but I think there's huge opportunities for sure.
Yeah, I agree, and what I see, because 'cause I'm really kind of immersed in it to see what people are doing, and, um, they're automating too fast. And they're not thinking through all of the things that they do, and there's no safety net. And
Yeah. I think you have to understand it and you have to know what you're working towards. I was thinking, as you said that, I'm like thinking about little things like, there's like email management things that are kind of small little things that definitely can help. So I think you're right. I think I would be really hesitant if somebody said, "Oh, I'm gonna like start this thing and I'm gonna like have AI do the whole thing." I'd be like, "Oh, okay." Like that would make me nervous. Like um, I don't really trust it all yet, and I don't know. Like every person's goals are different, and the kind of business they want to run is different, and so I think that all has to be taken into account. But I think there's definitely some places, and I see a lot of the programs that we all use are incorporating, the project management software is incorporating it, the email management's incorporating. I mean, there's a lot of little things that we're probably doing already without even realizing it because it's built into the platforms we're using. So
Yeah. But when you're instituting this into your business, somebody has to manage the AI.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the part that's like being totally ignored.
Yeah, I don't know where. I just watched a conversation with a couple of business owners about AI. It was more marketing people, and it was really interesting. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm definitely not an expert on it. I'm kind of learning along with everybody else. So, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
I
going
mean,
away. That's for sure.
no, it's not. It's not going away. And I don't know, the way that I like to view it is I spar with it, and you can't automate sparring.
True, that's true.
And I'm not giving my email inbox to anybody.
Yeah. Well, I think there's some little organizational things that could
Yeah,
be
for sure.
helpful. Yeah.
There's so much that can be done, but you still need to be in there. I
Yeah.
saw something the other day with somebody I have been connected to for years is now teaching people how to build AI teams with like a project manager sitting on top. And she's calling it her, like, I think she's calling it an AI COO. Um, but it was a little scary. There were like 8 roles on there. And,
Yeah.
I looked through all of it because, it immediately made me start to feel like pressure. Like now I need to be able to provide this as a service, which I don't want to do. And,
Yeah.
um, I went through and it had, like, she had a graphic with each one of her AI employees with a face and a name and their role and what they did. And most of the things I don't even need to do because my business was so small. But I just,
Yeah.
like, it made me nervous because, like, and this is where I see your role is so important because people don't even realize what they need. And
Well,
they're
yeah,
handing this
yeah,
over to a tool that's going to do it for them automatically.
right. Well, that's like they jump too far down the road on the tactics without really understanding the strategy. And I think like long before they get to that, I mean, there's so many people that have never even really sat down and thought about their process. Like, how do I bring clients in? What does the onboarding
Mhm.
look like? How do I serve them? Like all of that has to happen. And then you can find the places where
Yes.
automation
Yes.
might help. But I think a lot of people jump because somebody talks about it in a networking meeting or a vendor approaches them. And it happens like in marketing tactics too. I've worked with brand new people who are like, oh, by the way, I just signed a contract for this thing. And I'm like, well, what's your marketing strategy? Well, I have no strategy, but I'm going to do this thing. And it's like, well, you're like 10 miles down the road and you don't have the strategy first. And I think the AI thing is that kind of thing. It's like you haven't figured out what your basic process is yet. And you're trying to put these systems in place when you don't even know if that's even part of what you need. So
Yeah, there's also there are a bunch of tools out there now that will like find the podcasts that you should be on and then pitch for you. And I sat in on a webinar of hosts. It was like almost a panel of podcast hosts complaining about
wow,
these tools.
I bet.
And I like early on, somebody took me through one of them, and I was like, "Well, that's nice. I might use it to find podcasts, but it ain't pitching for me."
Yeah, yeah,
I've been pitching things since 1995. That's not pitching for me.
yeah. I can see that.
And like from your perspective, I would like you got to have an SOP. I mean, AI is it's gonna do whatever you tell it to do. Um,
Yeah.
and if you don't understand like what your processes are, and then you hand off, the building of the tool to somebody who's building this to work for everybody, are their assumptions going to work with what needs to be done in your business?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you gotta kind of start at the beginning and
Yeah,
figure out where maybe there's space for that or
for sure.
opportunity for that.
For sure, yeah. Um, I don't know. I think there's plenty of room for us for a long time to come.
Well, there's, like I said, there's so many other basic things that people could do that they just don't.
Yeah,
That's I don't think that for most of the business owners I work with, that's like
yeah.
we're
The
not quite
same.
there.
Yeah, the same. I mean, the businesses are so small that their needs are really small. It feels big because they don't know how to do it properly or they don't have the structure in place. But um, I noticed on your website the word architecture was there, and I think that that's a really important um, term for people that work the way that we work, because you have to have that. Otherwise, anything you build upon a shaky ground is still shaky.
Right. Well, I think that's where people end up in that sort of day-to-day reactive mode,
Yes.
and they end up making decisions all day long, which is exhausting and draining. And when you're doing things in the moment, it's hard to be strategic. And that's when I think that's when businesses start to feel really out of control and overwhelming. And so I think when you can start to put some structure in place, that basic architecture, that's when you start to take control of it and you start leading your business, and that puts you in a totally different
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly. And you feel it too. I mean, like you start to feel things just clicking.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good feeling.
It is a good feeling. And it's such a good feeling, as a service provider to watch that happen for other
Yeah.
people. Like
Yeah.
it's
Because then they can have the business that they want. I find, it's funny because I mean, there's definitely women out there that are like, oh, I want to make loads of money as much as I can. But I find that for most of the women I work with, they're looking for a business that fits the life that they want. And so they're looking for something totally different. And
yeah.
this is all part of it. Like, they want a business that they can work the schedule they want, that they make enough, money to be, whatever it is they want, to meet their goals, to be financially secure, to impact people, and they want it to run smoothly, and they want to feel in control, and they want to feel confident and clear. And so, like, being able, having that structure allows you to do all that, and then, not be in decision fatigue all day, just to be
Mhm.
really in control. So, and I think that ends up helping women build the businesses that they truly want.
Yeah. And the ones that they can have, I mean, I think that we're talking to the same group of people. And they are women. They're accomplished and experienced, and they've been doing whatever they've been doing for some time. And but they're a little off kilter because they're either new to the online world or never felt truly comfortable in it. And the bright shiny object is appealing.
Right. Well, it's like what you said earlier. They came out of the corporate world, and somebody else did this and somebody else did that and somebody else did the other thing. And they did that thing that they're really good at. Now they come into their own business and they're really good at that thing, but now they got to operate a whole business. And so many entrepreneurs, I mean, they're super creative, they're idea generators, and the rest of it doesn't always come as naturally. So they need some help kind of putting the pieces in place.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I mean, it's so important because for anything to be sustainable, you need to have that architecture. I'm going to go back to that word because that's the thing that's going to withstand changes.
Yeah. Yeah. And and the other thing too is that I think a lot of people, when you start talking about that kind of thing, they go right to sort of back end processes. And that's only like really a small part of it. I mean, structure incorporates a lot more. It's everything from, are your offers clear, and do you have, pricing that works? And so that when you have a new client comes along, it's easy to to sell them and to get them going. And then there's the how you approach your week, and there's rhythms like around business development and around your
Mhm.
marketing, and how you manage your time and how you plan. Like all of that is structure, and having those rhythms and that structure in place, not just sort of the back end systems, like that I think that which is where a lot of people sort of go to in their mind. There's a
Mhm.
lot more to it.
Yeah, and tools are changing so much now. I wrote an article recently about rethinking your tools because what you used even 6 months ago, you might not need anymore, or
Yeah.
you might have it covered somewhere else. I mean, it's just we have to look at these things because we're putting out a lot of money every month, and when you could be managing, 4 tools instead of 10 tools, that's some serious streamlining there.
Yep. No, it's true. And I know it's the question is always like, is there one that can do everything? And I
No,
haven't found it yet.
no,
um,
no.
and there's a couple that do a lot, but I don't like
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
So yeah, like that's just the way it is. Like I'm sorry, but like yeah, you're gonna have to juggle at least a couple of them
yeah,
probably. So
exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And like I've had some clients come to me and they have been paying for Go High Level for years and never built it out because
yeah,
that's a whole other job.
yep,
Yes,
yep.
it will do all these things, but you need to it's a blank slate.
Yeah, you kind of need somebody in
Find
there
the
running it
lost.
for you. Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I mean, all of these things are so important, and really understanding your needs, because people selling these things are really good at selling them.
Yeah,
And
yep,
when you have a really small business, you just need so little.
yeah. It's funny. I think it was just this week. My blog was about what does your business need right now, and it's because you do have people come to you with tools or marketing tactics or all sorts of different programs, and if you are not clear on like where you are right now and what your business needs right now, it's easy to get caught up in those
Mhm.
things. And my what I said was like, if you know where you are, then it's like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe I like that idea, but I'm going to put that over here and I'm going to think about it later. Like, but so many people, they jump so quickly, and it's because they really are not clear on where they are and what their business needs right now.
Yeah, and they just don't wanna do it. So when something sounds like a better idea than them
Yeah.
actually doing it, they jump on it, and, like, I had a year in my business a couple of years ago where I had 4 clients that spent a significant amount of money to build out programs, and I just asked them 1 question. Well, I asked 2 questions. "Do you want a program? Have you ever had one?" I guess it was 3 questions. "Do you wanna see what one looks like from the back end?"
Yeah.
And it was no, no, and no, and I was like, "Well, you gotta, like, say goodbye to those sunk cost issues and just move on
Yeah.
because, a program is not for everyone. It's a lot of work."
Right. Right. I think I think it's just as important to think about what you're not going to do right now or
Yeah.
ever as it is what you're going to do. I mean, so often what I'm talking about with people is sequencing, and it's not that like I think this is a bad idea or they should never do it, but it's not the thing for right now. Like
Yeah.
if we spend the time to think, all right, here's where my business is, and right now this is what I need. And it's not always a growth time. Like sometimes we're in a more of a foundation time, we're like rebuilding things, or we're trying to, whatever it might be. And then sometimes we're in a growth time. But if you know where you are and this is what my focus is right now, then when those opportunities come, you can be like, thank you so much. That's great. I'm
Mhm.
gonna, I will consider it. And sometimes, that's not for me at all. And other
Mhm.
times it's like, that's not for me right now.
Mhm.
And you have to sequence. And I think that's one of the things that happens with a lot of entrepreneurs, at least the people who come to me, because they'll come to me and they'll be like, okay, so here's where I am. And I'm trying to do these 8 things right now. And I'm like, okay, well, I know what the problem is. So, it's like you can't move all those things forward. And I think that's probably one of the things that trips up business owners the most is they're trying to move too many things forward at once. And so we need to, assess where we are, think about what's most important right now, and get focused. And this thing, maybe we do this, next year, this becomes next quarter. This is like, what, I don't think this works anymore. Like, but you've got to like sequence these things and focus on the right thing right now. And the more focused you are, the faster you will actually move.
Mm-hmm. And that's another transition challenge from corporate to entrepreneurship, because, in corporate, there's a lot of structure around projects and who handles what and how long it's going to take, and the red light, green light, yellow light thing, and all of that going on. And then the energy when you move into this entrepreneurial world is now. And the first layer of people that you come in contact with are the marketing and sales people that are like automating these things that are coming at you at 4,000 emails a week. And you're overwhelmed, and they start to sound really enticing. And you can't do it all at once.
No.
You just can't.
Yeah. And I think when you spend the time to do your planning and to get focused and know what you're working on now, then it becomes so much easier to manage those, because this is what I'm doing right now.
You've got proof it works, right? Yeah. So when that way, when something else is introduced, it's like, okay, that's nice, but how does it sit next to this that I already know that works?
Right.
It's a nice place to be. I mean, it sounds boring, but boring is what holds the architecture up.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. You know what? And I think that's part of it too. It's much more fun to think about implementing something new than to just get into the boring routine of whatever it might be, writing your content, meeting people, doing follow-up. Like, that's not exciting, but that's what creates momentum, so.
Totally. Like in my world, people come to me immediately wanting PR. And I'm like, that's the last thing.
Yeah. But that's exciting.
Yeah, but then it doesn't last, you don't know what to do with it. I when that happens, I share a story where I had a podcast I was on many years ago, and I was getting clients from replays of that podcast for 4 years because I kept sharing it. I built content structure around the podcast interviews, and that usually kind of opens their eyes a little bit, but you've got to build that foundation first, because it holds it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so let me ask you this. So the clients that come to you, are they coming to you straight from corporate, or do they have to take their foray down the bright, shiny avenue first?
I get about half and half. For my one-to-one work, I do get women coming right out of corporate, ready to start a consulting, coaching, service-based business, and they're looking for help for getting it up and started. And then I also have people that are definitely way down the road. And for those women, like I said, they're all so good at what they do, like just so good at what they do, but they typically don't have the structure in place. And so they're in a very reactive mode, and which is overwhelming, and that decision fatigue, because they're making decisions all day, every day, and trying to hold it together, and they're suspecting that there's a better way. And that's it. Yeah, so that's what I help them put that together. But I do also work with brand new. It's funny, because when I first came into this space 8 years ago, all the people I started working with and the mentors I was meeting and so forth, everyone was like, we don't work with new people, we work with more established. And I think it was because people felt that like newer people didn't pay, didn't have the money to invest, that kind of thing. But then I had some clients that were brand new, and I really liked them, and because I did that, like I left the corporate space and I knew where they were, and mostly I was working with women executives, so they could invest, like they were ready to start a business. And I mean, the online business, we can do this pretty inexpensively. We can start it, with a laptop on the dining room table. So it's not like we're, building out a bricks and mortar space.
Mhm.
So I ended up working with some brand new business owners, and I really like them. And a lot of the issues for those women is definitely around sequencing. So many, like, they go to start and it's like, okay, I need a website, and they're thinking about all these sort of marketing things or like building out all the assets, and it's like, no, we got to like find some clients. You need to sort of test your process, make sure that the results and the outcomes and the transformation is what you think it's going to be, and then we'll build the website. Let's get a few clients under your belt first and make sure that what you think this is, because otherwise you end up having to redo everything. It's very rare that somebody who, and then there's some businesses like, if you're a bookkeeper, that's like, that doesn't change a lot, but there's so many coaches and consultants, and what they think it's going to be and what it ends up being is different. And I don't want them to have to redo everything. So sequencing comes into play a lot with the brand new people, and getting them out and networking. A lot of them have never done any of that. They had a corporate job and they just, were at their job. And so they've never networked. They've never had to, talk about this, and, learning how to follow up, and, all the things, just to kind of build a little system around that. So yeah. I do love working with the brand new people too.
Yeah. I had a client a couple of years ago who, she was laid off from a job that she had for many years, and she was going to try and go out on her own. And after talking, I realized, like, she's going to have a job really soon. She is like a very desirable candidate for a number of positions, but she went to some, like, big flashy LinkedIn, you know, business consultant person who, like, wanted her to, drop down like $10,000 for, all of this business structure. And I said, before you do that, why don't you just put up a simple Canva website? Don't even like invest in anything other than a URL
Yeah.
and a $12 a month Canva account, and just see what happens. And within 6 months, she had a job.
Yeah.
And she actually emailed me and she thanked me. Because all we ended up doing was like zhuzhing up her LinkedIn profile and creating a Canva website. And I made like a speaker one sheet for her so she could pitch podcasts.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know, it was under $1,000.
Yeah.
So she
Much
was quite
smarter
happy.
strategy.
Yeah, she was quite happy. And she was like, I would have spent all that money and it would have been worth absolutely nothing right now.
Yeah, I've experienced that. I had early on in my business, I had somebody who just would not take my advice, and I think she wanted more to be a marketing person. She was opening a coaching business, but she was just so into the marketing and the videography and the photography, and she had this bigger business that she had sold, and she spent an obscene amount of money. She spent like $30,000 on all of this marketing and built this stuff. And I kept I'm like, let's just find some clients. And she's like, nope. And she was going to do what she was going to do. And I was like, all right. And eventually she got it all together, got her very first client, and said, I hate this. I don't want to do this. And that was the end of that. And I mean, I use that now as a cautionary tale for people. I mean, hers was pretty extreme and she had the cash to spend, but I was like, this is what happens. Like, you gotta like try a few clients first.
And the only way you know this stuff is by going through it.
Yeah.
And seeing it and being on the other side of it and helping people through it. And it's just, I love having conversations with people like you.
Yeah, I love it too. And that's, I mean, it's the patterns, it's like we've been through this with so many clients, and the pattern recognition, that's a big thing.
You've been in business for decades. Like how many times have you changed your business?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I came out of the corporate space, and then I had one business, and then I had this business. So yeah. And what's that?
Things shifted.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? It's funny. You know what I love about this like point in life is like you're able to look back and see the thread that you don't see when you're in the middle of it, but you can see it later. And I mean, like everything that I have done, I now use in this business. Like it has led me to this in being able to help women, because I started in the corporate space. I worked in marketing. I was in advertising and marketing and facilitation. And so I learned, about organizations and systems and that kind of thing. And then I had actually written a business plan to start a business with somebody. And then I found out I was pregnant with twins. And so, and that business had, it was going to be a gourmet food store with a catering company there. And I was like, and I was going to run the food part. My business partner was going to run the catering, but he was a chef. I'm like, I am having twins. I can't like run a retail store. So then and my focus became my family. So I have infant twins and plus my 2 young stepsons, and I've got 4 kids to take care of. I can't go do what I had wanted to do. So I had to kind of shift. And I ended up in a direct sales business with food. So I ended up with the food store I wanted without all the overhead. But what happened there that I didn't really see until later on was that, I mean, the part of that business that I loved was the leadership part of that. I mentored hundreds of women, teaching them how to build a business around their families and how to goal set and how to market themselves. And this was before social media, so I taught them all of that. And then when my kids got older and I needed to shift again because it wasn't so convenient for me to be out in the evenings and I had more time during the day. And so then I started this business. But again, like taking everything that I had done, and the women I work with now are in a different point in their lives. I work more with midlife and older women. So they're empty nest or soon to be empty nest, or they're dealing with aging parents. But again, trying to run a business around their life, And so I look at that thread of everything that I've done, and I like can draw it straight through. And it's, it's interesting to me to like kind of look back and see where I was and where I am now. But all the things I've learned along the way are why I can help.
Yeah, that's the wisdom. That's the thing AI doesn't have.
Yeah. Yeah. And and the structure piece, the putting the structure and systems in place so I don't have to every day stop and think about, what do I do now? It's just too exhausting to do that. I can't do that. So yeah.
Yep.
And the personal things that also play into that, like you laughed about my 5 kids, but one of the things that came out of like my personal life was like meal planning. I was so stressed out every day about the what's for dinner. So I had been like this ferocious meal planner for 25 years. And, once I was in the middle of this, I realized, okay, that was about decision fatigue. That was about having a little system in place. And so it's, it's a really good analogy and example of, business things, but people understand that really easily, that if you decide, once a week what you're going to eat all week, then at dinner time, you're just in execution mode. You can just go in the kitchen, pour yourself a glass of wine, put on some music and cook dinner. Like that's the easy part, but it's the like thinking about it and what are we going to make every day? That's the stressful part.
Yeah. And that's another transitional component of going from corporate to entrepreneurship as well. When you're in corporate, there is a definitive line between what's work and what's personal. And when you're an entrepreneur, it's not there anymore because, it gets muddled. You're doing what you want to do. You're doing what you love. You left behind the stuff you don't want to do anymore. So that meal planning is now you're taking your business strategies and putting it towards dinner.
Yeah. And I didn't even realize it at first, but yeah, that's exactly, what that is.
I realized I have this process called Tried and New, which is it's basically a content audit, but it's where you do pull together all of these parts. And I realized just a couple of weeks ago that was something that I started doing when I was 5 years old, when I was taking care of my entire family, because, there's always one, right?
Yeah.
That was me. So, and it's what stays, what goes, what could be upcycled, recycled, what could be given away, what could be sold. And, I was doing that at 5, and I didn't realize that I took that strategy and apply it to everything I do my entire
Yeah.
life. And I was like gobsmacked because like I never saw that before.
Right. And I think like for you as a writer and content creator and helping women with that kind of thing, like that's something that we all need to look for and integrate. And I think it's something that's kind of unique to women, more so, because we do have these paths that are, we change. And so often I think we look back and think like, oh, that was over there and that was over there. But really they all kind of, it's an evolution. It's not reinvention. It's an evolution. Like they all come together. And I think recognizing that and figuring out how that fits into your story is such a cool thing.
It is, and the leaving corporate piece. I mean, almost every single person that I have worked with, or friends that have done this, it's a total that was then, this is now situation. And until you let that go and start taking the pieces that you need to take with you, um, it doesn't really work. I mean, my
Yeah.
business didn't click until I said out loud, there is no plan B. This needs to work. And
Right.
then things just started working.
Right. I think it's really empowering too, to own that, to own your whole story and all the pieces of it. Because I mean, I can very clearly see that I would not be here right now if I didn't go through all the things. Like each
Yeah,
experience that I had, taught me more things that now where I am today and the way I can help women. I mean, I needed all of those experiences to get here.
absolutely. I left my job 20 years ago. November will be 20 years. And a couple of months ago, this woman that I worked really closely with, we used to travel together and train people all over the world on financial systems. She was laid off at 64 years old. And she was like, the floor fell out from underneath her and she felt terrible. And then I didn't know until just about 2 months ago. She called me, just reached out to me, and she was like, I've been debating on reaching out to you, but I know you can help me." So, she ended up getting another job like right after we reconnected, but it just made me see like how much I took from that job and built it into what I have today, and that's what I was sharing with her, and it just made her feel better because she was like, "Okay, I can take everything I learned."
Yeah.
Because, being in that law firm, they really, really brainwash you that you could only do this here,
Yeah.
and then they fire you. It's
Yeah.
40 years
It's
old.
a it's a
But
rough world.
it really was. It was so, I mean, I was really glad that I was able to help her, but for me
Yeah.
personally, it was just such a powerful reminder of, how much working in that type of environment formed me and what I took away from it and what I was able to turn it into. Um, and oh, we've got a comment here.
Oh, Lauren, it's one of my clients.
Hi, Lauren.
She's an
Um,
artist. She's an amazing artist.
I love that logo.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm really loving the way that this conversation just kind of unfolded because I think this is stuff people need to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I could talk
Okay.
about this kind of stuff all day, every day.
Me too. Me too. But we need to um, we need to wind it
Right.
down, and I want to put your website up here. And I also like to wrap up these interviews with a wisdom bomb, even though you dropped about 150 of them. Um, Something small, actionable that people can take with them and incorporate into their world.
I would say if you're not doing it, carve out an hour a week to plan your next week, to decide what are the priorities. Like make those decisions before Monday so that you're not, in that reactive decision fatigue place. Decide on your priorities, decide what's the most important stuff for next week. Take a little control of that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And it really does make a difference.
It does. It's always interesting to me the first time somebody who is working with me in that way, that they miss a week and they don't do it on their own, like they're at vacation or they're whatever. And then the next week I hear, oh my gosh, I didn't take the time to do it. And this week has been so much more difficult. Like they recognize that once you kind of get into that groove, things are just, they go so much more smoothly. You're more in control, and the important things get progressed, because without that, so often, people are like, oh, well, I set this goal and I've done nothing about it for months, or this was, I feel like this is the most important thing and I don't ever spend any time on it, and so you need to spend a little time thinking about that and planning that. I think so often when people hear planning, they think about like their schedule and putting things in their schedule. And to me, planning is making decisions. So it's about making decisions in advance. So that's what I would say. Whatever decisions you can make in advance and take them out of the moment is going to help you. It's going to be less exhausting. It's more, you're in control better. You're more strategic. You're making better decisions if you can make them ahead of time.
Excellent.
That would be my wisdom, Mom.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I'm gonna hold on to that one for myself too, because I get excited about all the flashy things and then forget about doing that as well. But anyway, this has been just delightful, and connect with Kathleen. This is her website, KathleenLawson.com. If you have questions, comments, ideas, and listening to the replay, put them in the comments, tag us. We'll keep the conversation going, and we will be back next week with more. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, everybody, and thank you, Kathleen.
Thanks for having me, Donna.